Welcome back to the Sound for More channel and welcome back to another tutorial and review. Today I have the pleasure of introducing you to Roland ZENOLOGY GX, which at the time of recording this video has been just released. Before I continue, I would like to remind my viewers to subscribe to the YouTube channel and also to become Patreon members, as that will help the channel moving forward. Okay, so let's go through as much as I can about ZENOLOGY GX as a phantom owner and an owner of a lot of different Roland products. I'm familiar with the ZEN-Core technology, so a lot of what I've seen in ZENOLOGY GX is somewhat familiar because of ZEN-Core, because of ZenBeat, ZENOLOGY Pro, etc, etc. I'm pleased to say that you can export preset. If you go to content, you can see export SVZ, which is really good. So you can share those presets with, for example, your hardware, which is very, very attractive. Big elephant in the room from a review perspective is not a UV-free yet, but Roland has already released comments that the AUV-free version is coming. And that's good because I think that will help removing some, in my view, of the limitation of ZENOLOGY GX. Because as it currently stands, yes, you can use it as effectively an editor, right? And there is something about a sequencer which is okay, but it's not a full DAW like ZenBeat. So, and also the arpeggiator is, as always, from Roland, very, very limited. And so having it running as a UV-free, you can overcome some of those limitations. I have to say, didn't find a lot yet on polyphony, but there will be another interesting point to discover a little bit more. But hopefully, when you're running, you get presented with something like this, you might have a different preset selected. And immediately we have this acoustic pop piano, very famous from a Roland set of presets, which by the way, there are over 4,000 and they can be expandable and also comes with a lot of wave banks as well. I'm surprised that you cannot yet bring in or import your own wave bank. That would be really good if you could do that. Now, if you don't see the keyboard button, well, click up here because you can enable it or disable it. I noticed for users that are using the mouse cursor that sometimes it doesn't work properly, but again, first release, I'm sure it will improve. So at times I have to use my touch in combination as well with the cursor for it to support what I'm doing. So let's start with the bottom part. So you have a keyboard. So if you don't have a MIDI controller, which of course you can connect, you can use the internal keyboard, which is really good. You can adjust your level here, your cutoff, your resonance, your attack, release for some vibrato. You can add immediately reverb and also some analog feel, which is really good. Additionally, if you press here where it says 916, you have access for each of the partial, full partial, that's ZEN-Core technology. You have access to level and pan, and we'll talk about that later. If you press on edit here, you can also create your instrument map, which is really good. You can load them, save them, etc, etc. You can do learn MIDI CC, which is really good as well. Yeah, you have range for the keyboard, octave up and down, your pitch bend, your modulation. So pretty standard. Some of these knobs here are reflected up here as well. In my view, this is a duplication. So you can change the cutoff here. You will see change down here. Why? I think this entire line probably could be condensed here with perhaps an arrow which points to next control. Also, when you move above, it gives you the value, and then of course you let go and the description comes back. I find that a little bit annoying, to be honest, but that is me. Here you can link between different partials, so you can make the changes at the same time or not, and you can activate them all in terms of linking or none. So that is your keyboard controls here, right? And by the way, you can also expand it up and you can also expand it down, which is, or collapse it down. Now I'm going to deactivate it up here so I have more screen. So you can start, let's start here at the top. You have synth, modulation, effect, mixer, and sequencer. Really good. And then here you have access to your preset. Click here, you have access to different category. All acoustic piano, for example. And you have a list here. You can sort by name, type, pack. You can give rating and even a tag. Click here, select range or a user tag, which you can add, and then select one, and you have that tag. If you don't like that, click on it and remove it or replace it. So pretty straightforward. If you want to select more than one category, click here, multi-select, and you can select 2 categories. If not, you come back to single. Same here for the packs, so you can go multi or single select 12 packs, and it's really good because you can get some synth legends, which is fantastic. Now you can also search, you can go here, you can say pad, like so, and then of course you have your pads, right? So that is really good. If you want to go to any initialized tone, go here and type in it. Okay, remove the selection of the pack. You can go for an initialized kit or an initial tone as well, which I definitely recommend. Click up here to exit this view. So you have partial 1 view, which you can enable and disable. Click in here. The same for partial 2, partial 3, and partial 4. So for partial, that's the technology of ZEN-Core. Additionally, when you don't have the keyboard down here, you see you don't have additional menu there. When you remove it, you have access to all the oscillators, the filters, the mixes, the LFOs, and key range as well. Indeed, for each of the partial, you can establish how to respond to velocity and also ranges as well with fading. Again, this is pretty standard if you used Phantoms or ZEN-Core. One of the things I was a bit disappointed is to see only LFO1 and LFO2. What about 3 and 4? That would be good, but hopefully those will improve. Let's go back to partial number 1. So as I said, you can activate it, deactivate it. Let's stick to this. Different type of technology of synthesis: PCM, virtual analog, PCM sync, super saw, and noise. Let's start with PCM. You can have access to different wavebank. A waveform from different wavebanks. So in this case we have piano 1 left. Click here and we can go see them all. Internal bank A, B, and C as well, and we can choose, for example, yeah, you can scroll down, you can sort it by name, bank, category. Interesting. I can't see a search here. That's very interesting, right? So yeah, let's scroll down and let's choose piano R, click X, there you are. So we have stereo left and right. Nice that you have representation of images as well. You can change the wave gain, which is very useful. You can adjust the up and down by semitone. You can do finer adjustment in synths. You can do cross modulation, sync, and ring modulation. Lots of different things. Now you can go for a virtual analog, and you have access to square, triangle, sine wave, etc., etc. So you can see here it was not responding very well on the mouse cursor. Here you can adjust the width. I like that it's doing it in real time in terms of updating the graph. Okay, that's really good. You can change the fatness of the sound. Can adjust the pulse width modulation as well there. So lots of different things. PCM sync, if you're familiar with ZEN-Core, you can select it, each one you like. Can adjust the wave gain, course, tune as well, and here you can adjust the different. You can select different type of waveforms, and then you have super saw, which is really good. And as you would expect, you have additional control for detuning. And of course you have noise as well at the bottom there, right? Let's go back to PCM. Or maybe we go back to virtual analog, why not? and we select so why now. There you go. Now you have a filter here. You can adjust what type of filter. You can see lots of them, including JP as well. So that's really good. Pole 12 and 24, which is good. Standard. You can adjust the cutoff here. Resonance. And you key follow. Pretty standard. You have a mixer here. You can adjust the level. Right. Your pan left and right. You double click and it doesn't go back to 0. That's very annoying, so that means you need to do this. Not really good. Reverb send. So you can adjust it here. Of course, the reverb needs to be active as well. So there you go. Additionally, here you have mid Q, which you can adjust if the Q is on. So on here, off there. I find this strange when it's off that this is still on, which changes between the graph representation and the dials. So I would expect this to change color. Anyway, but if you are on the dial and it is active here, you can change the frequency, low, medium, high, and then the gain for each one of them. And of course, you have your mid Q there as well. Okay. And then of course you can change it on the graph. Okay, let's remove velocity from my keyboard. Let's adjust the volume because it's a little bit too high, the gain as well here. That's a bit better. Okay, you have LFO 1 here, and you have also LFO 2 here. Okay, you can change the different type of waveform there. You can change the offset up and down, which is really good. You can change the rate, how fast it goes, delay, if you want to introduce that, fade in, which is really good. You can have a sync to BPM, which is up here, and Q trigger. Really, really simple. Now, one of the things which LFO are very good in ZEN-Core is you can have steps. Okay, so, and this is really good because you can use this to create additional movement in per partial. So you can have 2 LFOs per partial. Okay, and then you have 4 partial, so 8 LFOs running practically, which have different steps, and each step, for example, could actually modulate, for example, the pitch. So it's like having arpeggiated in a way, but they're not proper arpeggiated. Here you change the steps, and if you click here, you can maximize the screen, and here you have access to change the level per each step, and you can choose also different shape, which is really good. When I remember when this was introduced in with ZEN-Core, that was really good. Click exit to exit all course. Now here you have pitch, filter, and amp envelope, and also for modulation purposes. Okay. By the way, the envelope can be flexible or can be typical ADSR. I like to have them flexible, so you can do more with it. You set a depth. You can have it random, and then you can have also LFO1 and LF2 to actually act on your pitch envelope. I find a bit annoying that I cannot reset with a double click the pitch envelope. Anyway, you can do the same on the filter. So you can hear what is happening here for LFO1. That's really good, right? And you can do the same on the amplitude envelope. And of course, you can use also LFO too. So that's really good. Okay. Up here, you have mono legato. You can have octave, up and down. Click here and select in an octave, the same as semitone, and then the band range. You can go to unison here. You can select how many, up to 8, which is really good. And then, of course, you can adjust the detuning. Okay, that's really good. Portamento, the type by time or rate. You adjust the time, for example, there, your speed there, and the controls here. We have seen them. Then we go to the modulation part. Again, this is an interesting one, right? And if you click up here and you bring up the keyboard, you have this view as well, which will allow you to select source 1, source 2, up to 4 sources, including palm modulation as well, which you can have it random, alternate, etc., etc. A lot of different options and key follows. And here you can decide for partial 1 to 2, 1 and 2, and this one partial 3 and 4. And of course you activate them, and then you decide what the source is, which can be even an LFO, or it can be a pitch envelope, or it can be an external controller. So you have a lot of different options here. Okay, it could be your lever, it could be your modulation, etc. And then you decide what is influencing here, and then you decide the intensity. So it's pretty straightforward, it works really well, but you can create some very interesting and complex combination. Then you go to effect, okay, and here you can choose through, so it doesn't apply any effect, or you can apply lots of different effects. That's again one of the different things that I really like of ZEN-Core, really a lot of different effects, right? Of course I have reverb there. Okay, turn it off and turn it on. In terms of multi-effect there. And now we have a delay. Nice and simple, right? Always set it to no assign through. Okay, here you adjust the level. Here we have a mixer, which is really, really good, right? With the different partial, a tone bus as well, of the multi-effect, the mix bus, and the reverb, which, yeah, super handy. Here you have your reverb send. I was expecting to see, let's say if we go to effect here and we just include the delay and we go to the mixer. Okay, I was expecting to see additional controls to appear, but they are not there, and you probably do them through here anyway. Yeah, that's fine. So yeah, that's good. So mixer user control, the gain here, the pan, reverb send, multi-effect, or if you want dry, which so you can disable the effect by different partial, which again is really, really good. Really good. Sequencer. Wow, this is an interesting one. First you activate it here. Now I like the animation here. You can change it different pattern, which is good. The rate. You can do memory as well, store them and clear them, really good. Velocity randomization on the velocity, on the duration, on the octave, on the swing. So, and you can fix the velocity. That's really, really good. And you have also some interesting pattern. Again, I was expecting a little bit more, and you know, there's something even in the fountains arpeggio, and it's never really strong. Chords, which is interesting to actually see. There it is, and really good. And yeah, you have your sequencer here. You can drag and drop like the chords, like so, right? And then you can have them to play pressing the symbol here, right? You can drop them here. You can decide how long a pattern is. How long a pattern is. 1 bar, 2 bar, 3 bar, 4 bars, etc. You can have it in loop mode, how many loops, and the grid notes there, which is really good in terms of then establish the division between these, because you can change the duration here, and then you can add more chords, which is really good. Then you can have it in pattern mode or song mode. So if it's in song mode, it plays one pattern after the other, which is really good. And you can also go by chord there, click chord edit, and then, for example, have that in arpeggiato. You can decide what chord type, the inversion, the degree, octave, the key, the mode. You can also change the articulation as well, which is really good. You can transpose up and down as well. So all of that is nice and straightforward. Let's go perhaps up to octave. Let's go back to sequencer. Let's click play. So you can see he's actually going into a loop. Perhaps this one would be good to make it longer, like so. Right, there you go. Let's play again. And then I again click here to stop really the playing. Here it shows you where it is as well. You can play different parts here. So effectively you can sample. And he's using the instrument which is active, which is good and bad at the same time. Right, so so let's say we go to factory preset, remove the init here. Nice. So go back to the sequencer, and of course you can play now. I wish it had more options. I think it's nice, and you can have it play. It would be interesting to see if they put something for triggering, for example, based on keys. I think that would be really good if they could do something like that, right? And also it would be good if they could expand a little bit more the arpeggiator as well. But here you have also some presets, which are really nice to hear. Another thing which would be really good if these you could assign it by partial. That would be really, really powerful instead of being overall for the preset. Or if, even better, if you could have it multi-timbral, by where these could be assigned to multiple preset and build from there. This is why at the beginning of the video I said that the AUV3, which is coming out, will help removing some of these limitations. Because of course you create another instance of these and you have practically the sequencer running for a different preset. And in that case, I don't know, if you're inside your DAW, like Cubase's or Logic Pro, or even inside AUM, then you can simulate having multiple arpeggiato per different preset, and therefore it becomes multi-timbral, right? But on its own, no, it doesn't do that. Other things which I found strange is there isn't an hold button here for the keyboard. That's a bit interesting. Loading time for the application is a good. It reminds me a little bit of ZenBit, and some of the controls in the menu indeed shows a little bit of the same interface as well. I really love the selection of the presets. Is really, really good. Lots of them. If it is flaky with the mouse cursor, so for recording videos and tutorials, it's not the best yet, but I'm sure it will come along. You can close, collapse, and expand the different section, which is really good. I really love that. The modulation section is really good, and you can have lots of different modulation partitioning between each other, so it's really good. This one is lovely, but it's really busy. I tend to go for this one where I see the sources at the top, but if not, you see the sources here, right? And you can change them, of course, clicking on that. But from a modulation perspective, is really, really good. I really love it. A lot of different selection of presets. I wish you could import your waveform, because I think some of the waveforms, yes, they're special because they're Roland's, but it would be good to have some new ones, actually, which are not from Roland, and particularly if you could import them. I was expecting LFO 3 and 4, which I don't see, which is interesting, right? So I noticed some comments in the user forums as well that the key range would have been better if we could do that by preset or patch, not by partial but effectively practically you are doing it. Yeah, practically is the lack of being multi-timbral. That's the issue. Really, it's not multi-timbral. But again, with a UV3 coming along, that will be removed as a limitation, so that will go. But again, it would be interesting to see what parameters as a AU parameter they will expose, because if you want to control it through another DAW, then you need to be able to associate it to, well, to have the right parameter exposed to make those alteration, right? So lots of different effects. Love that. I wish there was a little bit more option on the effect themselves. I know you can do them by partial. Here you have multi effects, but I don't see insert effects yet. So unless I'm missing something, but the modulation is really good. Of course, you can save here, and it will tell you save as a new one. Here you have option for your BPM, which is good, so you can change, but it's a little bit limited again. But it's not Zen bit, it's not a full DAW, so I was not expecting to see a metronome. It will be interesting to see what happens to the sequencer and the arpeggiator. I don't hold my hopes on the arpeggiator. Roland has never created big arpeggiators or phantoms keyboards with 8-10 arpeggiator concurrently running, like you have in some Yamaha or Korg workstations. So I don't hold my hope on that, but I hope the sequencer is or will get better. Right, I think that will be pretty special if that was to happen. Right, I think I explained most of the controls, not absolutely everything. Of course, I show you the different views, but those are just views, which helps you to modify all the different controls, so you can see and compare between all of them and between the different partial. I think the key thing is actually to work with ZEN-Core. You need to work a different partial level. One of my frustration with ZEN-Core on hardware is limitation on polyphony. So it would be good to see how this behaves, particularly when it comes to a UV3. So we shall see, and hopefully the subscription or lifetime purchase will not be too expensive, and a musician will be able to afford it. Okay, I'm going to stop here. I hope you enjoyed the review and short walkthrough. And as always, see you next time. Bye.